lot of us in Nigeria right now, we are going through season of contradiction, as was my case. So what happened? I think the year was 2018. I had just gotten married. I got married to my sweetheart. We had been close friends. Church had made it happen, and we got married. And we were both happy, and we started our life together as a family. Guess what? Life happened. The first year, we were greeted with a miscarriage. And it was like, my God, what's happening? And we weathered it. Second year, we trusted God. We lived our life. We were happy. We were good. Apply every necessary advice that we received from friends and well-meaning, people in our network. And conceived again, and we were about to deliver Joshua. Do you know that we experienced a stillbirth? Joshua's stillbirth shocked us. We held hands and trusted God again. And by the third year, we conceived Tefillah. And we were going to have Tefillah and everything. In fact, because of our history, we were extra careful. There were certain things we tried not to compromise on. And, we used the best medical experts we could afford at the time. And guess what? Everything was going good. We had Tefillah, but Tefillah only stayed with us briefly, and we lost him again. In fact, Tefillah was put in NICU, and I remember I had just stepped out to go and get one or two things, and I had received a call from the hospital. And I was just praying that I hope it's a good news call. And by the time I got back, it was the news I was not expecting. And they said they are sorry that we had lost Tefillah again. And I held Tefillah in my hand, and this will make the second seed that I will practically go and bury. And that really took a toll on me. You see, it's not that the miscarriage or the Joshua loss was not as painful, but there was something about Tefillah that it broke me at a level. But guess what? Because we're talking about navigating season, good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. And if you live long enough, you're going to have unpleasant seasons. And it is the unpleasant seasons that you'll be made, right? Now, that was the first 3 years of our marriage. Guess what? Along the line, by the time we'll be getting into the 4th year, we realized that there were certain things that needed to be done. Fast forward to today, we are blessed with 2 amazing kids, and we're very happy, and God is good to us. But there were 5 things we did while we were in that season that helped us to navigate. And those are the things I'm sharing with you that will indeed help you. What did we do while we were going through that season of contradiction? Why do I call it season of contradiction? At the time, I'm not aware of anything I was doing wrong. Neither was I aware of anything my wife was doing wrong for us to experience whatever we were experiencing. We were conceiving normal. We were going through the procedure. We did everything that was on our part, that is expected for us to do on our part. But the outcome was not what we expected. First thing we did as we were going through that season, as a couple, we ensure that we did not lose our peace. Because you see, most of the time, when you are going through trying times, the goal of those trying experiences is to rob you of your peace and joy. Now, if you are able to maintain your peace, I tell you, you will indeed thrive. I recall when this event happened, thank God for the doctor. At the time, we had this medical doctor that is a family friend. In fact, he was involved in our first loss. Now, talking about Joshua, he was very handy in the sense that my wife was having postpartum experience, and you know how traumatizing postpartum can be. If you're going through season of contradiction, you need to have good people, like good networks around you. You cannot downplay the place of good people, So this doctor came handy. While I go to work, my wife needed to change environment and be with them, and that really did a great deal. Particularly my wife and his wife will spend time, unwind, have conversations that kind of lifted the burden of the loss, So that helped our peace, and that also helped our peace, because her peace has a way of tampering with my peace, and my peace has a way of tampering with her peace. Because don't forget, couple, when you are couple, that word couple simply means something that has been put together and they are inseparable. Yes, maybe I was able to go to work, and that's even the second point. You see, what helped me is I held on to my conviction. And what is that conviction? I had received the word, and in that revelation, there is a vision that we have a legacy that we want to pass on to the generation coming after us. And those legacies will be passed through my seed. He didn't tell me about adopting. He told me that my seed will carry on that legacy. And so when seasons of contradiction came, I simply told my wife, because I recall that she even asked me that we are going through this trying times and it doesn't seem as if you are bothered. You just go to work, you get back, and we live our life, and it seems as if we are just happy, we are cool. I said, yes, while what is happening is hurting me, I must say this. What is keeping me sane is the visions of God, the personal revelation and the convictions. And so when you have such conviction, it will help you to stay when times are not adding up. Then, another thing that also helps is, when you are going through a season where you look at your life and you feel like, okay, is this all that there is? When things are not clicking, you need to be circumspect and ask yourself, what next? And that's why a spiritual base will help you a great deal. I remember when my wife came to me and said, she's curious and she's wondering, how am I dealing with, this loss? I simply told her, for me, my perspective about it is different. I am not seeing the loss. I'm rather seeing the possibility of something great that God will make out of this. And that's why I remember even after we had lost the filler, I had received the name for our next baby. Somebody would wonder that shortly after we lost the filler, I had received the name for our next baby. And guess what? The name I received for our next baby, at the time when we were having loss of these children, we were in the north. Right now we are in the south, and guess what? The name I received for that baby will later be named that child almost 2 years later. Don't forget, I was talking about holding on to your conviction. When she came to me and asked, how am I dealing with this loss? I simply told her, the visions God gave me, children are there. And if children are in that vision, it's only a matter of time the children will come. And the children I saw are the children from your womb. And I tell you, the rest is history. So it helped us a great deal. And another thing that will also help you is when you're going through season of contradiction, please don't be bitter. There is this question people used to ask, God, why me? Most of the time when I hear people say, God, why me? I used to ask, if not you, is it me? Honestly, because you say, God, why me? We are humans, and when we are going through seasons when we are hurt, most of the time we would not wish it on ourselves. But I have come to know from experience that those seasons will make you, not break you. And so don't allow bitterness to get you to a place of depression. Walk in love. Look at, what am I saying? I recall during this our season of contradiction, do you know that the loved ones, some of the loved ones around us, so-called loved ones, I would say, people from church came around to visit, and they were like Elihu. That's, when I say Elihu, I'm referring to Job's friend. You remember when Job's friend came to visit? Instead of them to comfort him, they were even adding more pain to him, because they began to ask him, what has he done wrong for all this to befall him? That was literally what, those our acquaintances did at the time. And they were questioning us. And for me, it was really deeply hurting, because these are fellow believers and you'd have thought that they should know better. Rather than find solace in them, it was more of pain that they were bringing to us. But thank God, because right before their eyes, the God that changes people's story, indeed, he changed our story. But for us, we greeted their judgments with love. And we did not allow depression, to stop us. Another thing you will do to help you navigate seasons when things are not working is, please avoid complaining or explaining. You see, there is no point trying to convince somebody otherwise. I think it was this morning I was having a conversation with my wife, and we were talking about how sometimes when people are bent on not seeing anything good in you, even when you cut your head, they will say you didn't cut it well. And so there is no point trying to explain, but my wife is fruitful, but these children, but this, but that. Is it the hospital? We don't complain, we don't blame, we don't explain. We just face front. There is no need. I remember one of the time my wife was walking in the neighborhood, and some women were literally saying things behind her back to the end that this woman, every year she'll be getting pregnant and we will not be seeing baby. She could have as well decided to confront them and begin to explain herself. or maybe even have an altercation with them. But she did not. She faced front. Today, the testimony is undeniable. The children are here, and God is good. So please don't try to explain yourself when you're going through season of contradiction. Just hold on to your faith. It has come to pass. In other words, these too shall pass. Then another thing that I would share with you is maybe consider this a bonus point, and this is for that person that is trying everything and it seems as if nothing is working. Just go through this your season of contradiction with gratitude. Kill every form of fear. I hope I'm not going ahead of myself, because in the future I have a plan to teach you how to change season, because you can actually change season, because we have changed seasons in our life from unpleasant to pleasant, from season of contradiction to season where everywhere good, so to say. But this particular point will help you navigate season, because you might be in the season right now where it seems as if nothing is working. Let me use this case study. Let's say you are a content creator, and this is actually a true life story, that you cannot afford to walk in a place of lack of gratitude. You see, gratitude is very powerful. Maybe you are putting out content and you are seeing 1 view, 2 view, 5 view, 10 views. I tell you, if you are doing your best, if you're showing up, please continue to show up. Because honestly, all views are not the same. I'll tell you a true life story. One of Oprah Winfrey's trusted writer shared a story how when he set up his YouTube channel and began to put out content, that he was not getting views. That he would do the content, sometimes we even go live. And one of the times he went live and it was just 2 views he got. Do you know that those 2 views he got while he was sharing how he does his work and everything, on the other side of the view was Oprah Winfrey. And shortly after, Oprah reached out, and that person is now one of Oprah's trusted writers. But what if the person was not showing up to display his craft? And that's what I'm saying to you, that when you are going through season of contradiction, and part of season of contradiction is there are expectations you have that you are not seeing. When you are not seeing those expectations of the outside, sometimes your root is going downward so that your fruit will come upward. And all views are not the same. So it's not time to give up on your craft. It's not time to cave in. It's not time to feel like things are never going to change. Things are going to change. In fact, things are changing right now. Brace up. If it's a season of contradiction, it has come to pass. It didn't come to stay. Many thanks for being a part of today's conversation. You are created for peak performance. I remain Michael Ogunshola. Please go for it.